Record turnout for elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Civil unrest and violence in Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. 3 decades after Pakistan began its proxy war in Jammu and Kashmir, the tables have turned. And how? Just yesterday, the Supreme Court dismissed a batch of petitions seeking a review of its December 2023 order, unanimously upholding the centre's decision to abrogate Article 370. Article 370 bestowed special status on the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. What do these judgments, what do this turnout mean for the future of Jammu and Kashmir, and what's the way forward? To talk more about this, I have in the studio my colleague Aditya Raj Kaul, and joining us from Jammu and Kashmir is Javed Baigh, social activist. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Aditya, tell us what we just saw in Jammu and Kashmir over the last couple of days. The dichotomy in the two regions of Kashmir, one on our side of the border, the other in Pakistan, and the fact that democracy is the best revenge, as Benazir Bhutto once said very famously.
Well, over the last few days or weeks, we have seen something very unprecedented. Something that 5 years ago we wouldn't have imagined is happening either in the Indian Kashmir or the Pakistan Occupied Kashmir.
Right.
First, to begin with, I would say that the central government, the Parliament of India and the Supreme Court of India finally nullifying completely Article 370 clearly indicates the will of the people of India has been expanded to Jammu and Kashmir and has been implemented fully. Now, no political party, no political leader, activist or a human rights group can really come in and say that democratic means were not used. Every possible democratic mechanism was used to nullify Article 370 from Jammu and Kashmir. And those who say that 370 was just a thing that was kept there, it was not implemented, and we could have ignored it completely. No, Article 370, even if it's just narrative, has helped immensely change the ground, not in respect of terrorism completely or violence completely, but in the mindset of the Kashmiri people, because the grassroots democracy has found weight in Jammu and Kashmir for the first time. We see unprecedented. In Baramulla, just a couple of days back, we've had 59% polling. In Mumbai, we had 56%. Can you imagine that?
Baramulla outstripping Mumbai in voting turnouts. And I want to ask this to Javed. He joins us from Srinagar. Javed, tell us how historic this moment we're witnessing that Aditya just mentioned. Baramulla, seeing a higher turnout than all of Mumbai. What's the mood on the ground right now, 5 years after Article 370 being repudiated and after these historic elections, the first elections in Jammu and Kashmir after 2019?
As Aditya Bhai rightly said, two sides of Jammu and Kashmir. One, our Jammu and Kashmir, Indian Jammu and Kashmir, another Pakistan Occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Nobody across undivided Jammu and Kashmir would have ever imagined what will happen in this part of Jammu and Kashmir and Pakistan Occupied Jammu and Kashmir.
The tables have turned very clearly.
As Aditya Bhai rightly said, more than 59% voter turnout across Baramulla, and let me tell you, northern Kashmir comes with Soibug in my district Padgam, Patan Polhalan in Baramulla, and Hajin in Bandepura, which were once upon a time hotbed militancy.
Hotbeds of
violence all across. But in last 5 years, what has actually changed is the mansikta of common Kashmiri, especially the mansikta of Kashmiri youth. The mindset of Kashmiri youth has become so strong and global that Kashmiri youth have now started representing the idea of India globally.
Absolutely.
This is the change.
This is a huge change. And in fact,
I am not excited about 60% voting. That was bound to happen. Because people of my generation have understood two sides of Kashmir. We are very much aware what is happening to our Riyastis in PoK, in POGB, and how Kashmiris are leading 1.4 billion Indians. I am proudly saying that first Honorable PM of Azad Hind was a Kashmiri. I am proudly saying that Honorable Home Minister of Azad Hind was a Kashmiri, Mufti Muhammad Sayyid Sahab.
Yes.
A Kashmiri can top India's most prestigious exam, but a Kashmiri on other side cannot even have rights to have atta and chawal.
Yes, absolutely.
A Kashmiri living under the illegal occupation of Pakistani Punjabi Muslim elites cannot even go out of Gilgit and Baltistan, or cannot enter without a permission to enter his home in Gilgit and Baltistan.
Yes, absolutely.
This is the difference.
Very, very important points there, Javed. And Aditya, now my next question to you would be, what next in Jammu and Kashmir? Assembly elections? How early can it be held? I mean, I'm sure these turnouts would have encouraged the government to start thinking about assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Of course, there would be statehood first and then the election. But just run us through what's on the agenda next.
You know, two questions are very often asked to me after the abrogation of Article 370. One is, when will democracy be restored and when will the assembly elections happen?
Yes.
And the second question is that when will Kashmiri Hindus return to Kashmir?
Right.
You know, to the first, I say that there is a step-by-step restoration of democracy that is happening.
Yes.
And there is a step-by-step attack on the Hawala networking, on the terror networks, on the corruption, on the kind of radicalization that has been underway there. NIA especially, along with the Jammu and Kashmir Police and the SIA, have significantly contributed to this change from 2017 onwards. We saw a lot of radical separatists, people from Hurriyat, JKLF, Jamaat-e-Islami, and all these groups who instigated violence in the valley have been arrested. All these ringleaders are in Tihar jail or other jails in Agra, Lucknow and other places. So there is no question of any kind of violence after the Friday prayers or whenever there's an encounter that's underway.
Right, and the money networks have been disrupted. The
almost
Hawala,
to 90%. There might be some still underway through different mechanisms, but mostly they have been crushed completely, and it's visible in the valley. No stone pelting that was visible before 2019 is there anymore. So I personally feel that the state assembly elections may not happen immediately. It may take a little more time because now they have tested the waters after the parliamentary elections, which is the biggest election. So they will tell the Supreme Court of India, because September is the deadline, that we have had successful elections. And now perhaps we will go for the panchayati elections, block development elections as well. And thereafter go for the assembly polls. One significant thing that has transpired post 2019 after the reorganization bill was introduced was the Jammu and Kashmir police coming under the MHA. I personally feel, because I've observed the security situation there, that this is even more important than Article 370 nullification. That Jammu and Kashmir police should always remain with the MHA and shouldn't be with the Chief Minister. If it is with the state government, we will be back to square one. And second, to the return of the Kashmiri Hindus, there is a societal change that needs to happen. The local Kashmiris don't know how to live with Hindus or with Sikhs or others.
It hasn't happened in 30 years.
It hasn't happened for almost 40 years now. So it will take time. I'm not saying that Kashmiri Hindus may not return because they've settled abroad and they don't want to go into a violence or a terror-related area. But you need to bring a change at the societal level. For instance, people like Yasin Malik and Bitta Karate and others who have been languishing in jail, were not even in jail, they were living a luxurious life, need to be tried, tested, and in fact completely as per the law of India, given
dealt
punishment.
With as per the law.
These acts will act as a precedent, motivating the common Indians, not just Kashmiri Pandits, but people all across India to visit Kashmir more. Tourism will increase, and perhaps there will be intermingling of ties, and Kashmiri Hindus will also realize and perhaps return someday.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to that day. But Javed, I want to ask you about this question that I asked Aditya as well. The fact that assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir, do you believe that there is, given the fact that the Lok Sabha elections have been conducted so peacefully, there was record turnouts, that now the next step would be to first have the Zila Parishad elections and then possibly the assembly elections. How critical do you think it is to hold these in the next couple of months? Or do you think the time is still not right for that?
Constitutional bench of Honorable Supreme Court has already given directions to Election Commission of India that assembly elections in J&K should be held as early as before September 2024, which I'm sure, because the way Election Commission of India conducted Lok Sabha with the help of Jammu and Kashmir Police and other security agencies is phenomenal. I appreciate Jammu and Kashmir Police. Not a single incident of violence across Srinagar, Pulwama, Badgam, Baramulla and Kapwan.
Right.
Such a peaceful environment this was. Luckily, I was also in this whole process. Yes. I went around Baramulla and Srinagar, including Pulwama. The enthusiasm, on the faces of Kashmiris, especially on youth, that was something to be cherished for a longer time.
Yes.
I'm sure Election Commission of India will take an early call for assembly elections, and hopefully a new leadership will emerge, as Aditya Bhai rightly said, one thing at a time. A lot of things
step by step
done, very positive things, but a lot of things need to be done, like early and dignified return of my Kashmiri Pandit brothers. Without that, I won't say it is Naya Kashmir. When last Kashmiri Pandit or Kashmiri Muslim who is not living in Kashmir, out of that fear of 90s, they should return to Valley, especially my Kashmiri Pandit community. Then that is in real sense Naya Kashmir. But situation has changed, peace has returned.
Yes.
Development is taking place.
Development is taking place,
at
absolutely.
far-flung areas. I'm very happy.
Right. Javed, important point there, no Naya Kashmir without the return of the Kashmiri Pandits. Aditya, not a lot of people know the fact that there are 24 seats in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly reserved for Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. This has been the case for several decades now. Given the fact that the government has been so vociferously talking about Pakistan Occupied Kashmir, do you see the possibility of these seats, them actually announcing candidates for these seats?
I don't see a possibility in immediate future, but that's an excellent idea. In fact, I have written a couple of times that the government shouldn't keep them vacant as a symbolic gesture. They should immediately think, because those people who have come from across the border, they are part of the Indian society, they're part of the Indian constitution, and they have the same rights after the nullification of Article 370. Why not give them rights? Why not create some kind of constituencies or give them, nominate them at least, and have their say at least, even if there are people in exile who are interested to be part of this process, at least to a certain extent under the Indian ambit of Indian constitution, that should be done. In fact, Sandeep, I have a question for Javed. Javed,
please.
You spoke about this new leadership that needs to emerge in Kashmir. You have been, on the other side a few years ago, and now you are part of this Indian democratic process over the last 5 years. Tell us the kind of change that you have seen, because, we still see Farooq Abdullah, Umar Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti speak about that Modi should speak to Pakistan. They say, even they have atomic bomb, they can attack us. Do you think this kind of narrative of autonomy, self-rule, this kind of separatism, this should end? There should be a new politics done by NC, PDP and all these political parties?
Aditya, let me make it very clear. I have never been on the other side of politics. I have always been into mainstream. Though there were some differences between different parties I was associated with, but I have always been on the side of mainstream. I have always advocated for idea of India since my childhood, and I will always advocate for the idea of India. I am a radical advocate of idea of India, you can say. Yes, there has been a drastic change since last 5 years. People like me who live in far-flung areas in Kashmir were always apprehensive of being targeted by radical elements or militants. But now, I don't have that kind of fear. Or people who again advocate for the idea of India are not under any kind of fear now. This is the change. Earlier there was a different kind of environment. Now situation has changed. I can speak my heart out anywhere across Jammu and Kashmir. I can talk to my people with the ideology I believe in. Earlier it was a different scenario. Even if you believed in the idea of India, you wouldn't dare to speak about it openly. Political parties, regional or sub-regional parties, they used Article 370, 35A for their benefits, for their political benefits. I haven't seen these articles benefiting 1.2 million people of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the way people are getting benefited by central government schemes is something which not only Javed Baigh, Aditya Raj Kaul Saab, every single Kashmiri is talking about. Appreciate it.
Javed, thank you very much for your thoughts, but I'm completely out of time here. But Naya Kashmir, and there's no Naya Kashmir without the return of the Kashmiri Pandits and indeed all the Kashmiri Muslims who've been displaced as well. Important points here in our show today evening about how the tables have turned in Jammu and Kashmir in just about 3 decades, where you had violence on the one hand and peace on the other. Today, it is a Naya Kashmir heading towards peace and development. Thank you very much, Javed, for joining us, and Aditya Raj Kaul. This is a story that we keep tracking because it's so close to us. National security, Jammu and Kashmir, bullets and ballots.